Hello students, myself Dr. Narendra Rally, Assistant Professor, Department of Management, VSM College. I'm here to explain you on the concepts of Production Analysis Unit 3. In this video, now let us discuss about the two important concepts in production analysis, that is that is Iso-Quant and Iso-Cost curves. As a part of this, now let us discuss Iso-Quant in our in this session. Now let us discuss about Iso-Quant curve. What is Iso-Quant curve? Iso-Quant curve. This is also known as Iso-Quant curve is also known as Iso product curve. The Iso-Quant curve is also known as Iso product curve. Here Iso means equal. Quant means quantity or product output. Quant means quantity or product output. Iso-Quant curve means equal quantity or equal product. Iso-Quant. So therefore together we call Iso-Quant is equal to equal quantity or equal product. Equal quantity or equal quantity or equal product. Thus it means that different factors are needed to produce goods or services. These factors may be substituted for one another. For in order to produce one unit of output, different factors of production must be there. So a given quantity of output may be produced with different combination of factors. Iso-Quant curves are also known as equal product or iso product or production indifference curves. Therefore, here Iso-Quant means equal product or equal quantity. The Iso-Quant curves are also known as iso the Iso-Quant curves are also known as production The Iso-Quant curves are also known as production indifference curves. Here you can observe, we are saying that iso means equal, quant means product, that is equal product curves. When the products or output is equal, there is no difference. That's why Iso-Quant curves are also known as production indifference curves. Iso-Quant curves are also known as production indifferent curves. An isoquant product an isoquant product shows isoquant shows all combination of factors shows all combination of factors isoproduct curve shows all combination of factors that produce a certain output. All factors of production that produce a certain output. All factors of production that produce a certain output. An isoquant shows certain output is given. An isoquant curve shows the different combinations of capital and labor that give the same output. That gives the same total output. Now let us see this. Understand this with a graph. Let us understand with this with a graph. Let us say we have taken an x-axis and y-axis. We have taken an x-axis and y-axis. On y-axis we have, let us take on y-axis we take capital. On x-axis we take on x-axis we take labor. Labor means capital represented as K and labor represented as L. So the total physical product is, if drawn on a graph, it will be like on x-axis we have labor, on y-axis we have capital. The production indifference curve would be like this one. The production indifference curve will be like this thing. Here an isoquant shows different combinations of capital and labor that give the same output. Here this output is called total physical product. So the output line is known as the total physical product, that is TPP. Say for example TPP is equal to 4000. On x-axis you have 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 like that. On y-axis also you have 10, 20 like that. So in this diagram, the isoquant shows all combinations of labor and capital that can produce a total physical product of 4000. In the above, this could be like 20 capital and 18 labor. Here is, you can see 20 capital, maybe 10 labor. And in the other case 9 capital 35 labor. In the other case, say for example, in this 10 will be the capital and 30 will be the labor. An isoquant is usually shaped bell shaped, is shaped concave because of the law of diminishing returns. With fixed capital, employing extra workers give a declining increase in the marginal product. See, in this marginal in this graph, the isoquant shows all combinations of labor and capital that can produce a total physical product. An isoquant is usually shaped concave. Is usually shaped as concave. Concave means like this. Is usually shaped concave. It is an extension of indifference curve analysis from the theory of consumption to the theory of production. Thus, an isoproduct or isoquant curve is that curve which shows different combinations of two factors yielding the same total product. These products, though looking concave, will slope downwards from left to right. You also see, though it is also like concave, it is like sloping from left to right side. Assumptions. What are the assumptions in isoquant curves? The assumptions in isoquant curves. The assumptions in isoquant curves. So, what are the assumptions in isoquant curves? Two factors of production. We already say, even in the graph you say there are two factors of production. First one, there are only two factors. Divisible factor. Factors of production can be divided into small parts. Divisible factors, that is, factors of production is divided into small parts. And constant technique. What is this constant technique? The production curve, the production process is constant while seeing the isoquant curves. Possibility of technical substitution. technical substitution. Technology can be substituted, that is technology substitution. Factors of production can be used with maximum efficiency, and one such assumption is that maximum efficiency. So all these are the assumptions of Iso-Quant curves. The assumptions of Iso-Quant curves. Marginal rate of factor substitution. We already discussed that there is a substitution. So what is marginal rate of factor substitution? Marginal rate of factor substitution. So marginal rate of factor substitution is also known as MRS, marginal rate of factor substitution. So MRS is equal to change in capital by change in labor. The marginal rate of substitution is the amount of one factor that can be replaced by one factor. If 2 units of capital could be replaced with one factor labor, the MRS would be, if 2 units of capital has been replaced with one labor, the result would be 2. So this is marginal rate of substitution. Let us suppose that there are two factor inputs, labor and capital. Marginal rate of substitution is change in output divided by, say, change in capital. So the ISO product map looks like the indifference of consumer behavior analysis. Each indifference represents particular level of satisfaction. Particular level of satisfaction. A higher indifference curve represents higher level satisfaction, but we cannot say by how much the satisfaction is. More or less, utility cannot be measured. So, and apart from that, what is the diminishing marginal rate of substitution? In the first one, you have known that marginal rate of substitution. Now, what is diminishing marginal rate of substitution? That is diminishing MRS. If we observe the indifference curve, it starts from the left and tries to decreases and finally equalizes. If the firm employs 2 labor and 40, for example, 40 capital, then the employing one extra worker can enable to save 10,000. So this, for example, this quite is efficient saving. The firm only has to pay one extra worker, but can save the cost of 40. However, at combination, Finally, the isoquant map would be like this. It is always concave. It shows the different levels of output. It shows different levels of output. In the short term, a firm acts as a trade-off along one particular isoquant. But in the long term, a firm can invest in increasing capital stock and produce at higher output for the same quantity of labor. Isoquant is the locus of all those combinations of labor and capital which yield the same output. Let us just understand this diagram. This is the map of indifference curves. This is the map of indifference curves, which are the exact name is, they look like an indifference curve. But what is the exact name here? Iso-Quant curve.